Good evening. Welcome to Burgtheater Kasino. My name is Tobias Herzberg and I'm a dramaturg and the project manager of this wonderful venue. And it is, I can still say that without bragging, because this is also my first season and I'm really happy that this is starting with a collaboration that we are introducing. Kunsthalle Wien has a new directorate, WHW, directorate trio. And this is only the first of a series of collaboration events that we are hosting in this new season. And I'm happy to welcome Sabina Sabolovic from WHW from Kunsthalle Wien. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tobias. So a very warm welcome from Kunsthalle Wien and also from me and my colleagues Natasha Ilic and Yvette Schurlen, who are here in the first row. We are delighted to be here tonight with greeting Sylvia Palacios Whitman, who came to Vienna to perform, which we feel is a really special occasion. We can trust that most of you probably never saw her perform, and we have to admit that we didn't either. So we saw her work through documentation and performances that she's been doing in other places, and when we got this platform of Kunsthalle Wien to get a chance to also see her in person, we totally jumped on that occasion, and we hope this evening will be kind of a treat both for you and for us. So just a very short intro into Sylvia's work, although you'll be having a chance both to see and hear more about it. So Sylvia Palacios Whitman had a long break in her career, but she recently started performing again. She started in the 60s in the vividity of experimental scene of New York, where she moved from her native Chile. She very soon kind of started fitting in the scene there. She was also dancing in Trisha Brown Company. And she started developing her own very poetic and very unique style, I would say. Often it's written about, and this is also something we were kind of interested in, of practice which is combining a strong pictorial practice of Latin America and kind of clashing it a bit with the very minimal language of the conceptualism of New York 60s. So we are very happy that we will be able to see these pieces tonight. As you've probably read in the announcement, it's a combination. So Sylvia will be performing some of her older pieces. We will also see some of them on video documentation. And then we are especially proud that we are also showing her newest piece, which premiered in New York only 3 weeks ago. So this will be kind of the last part of the performances. And then we are very glad, we didn't want to miss this chance to also kind of hear her talk about the work, which we think is always very precious, to have a chance to hear the artist's voice. So we also invited curator Isabella Maiden, who was really kind to join us, and she will be doing a conversation with Sylvia afterwards. As Tobias already mentioned, this is also part of a collaboration that we are doing with Burgtheater, and in fact it's a collaboration which is leading up to the first exhibition that we are curating as new directors of Kunsthalle Wien, which is opening on the 8th of March next year, so please save the date. The exhibition is called Of Bread, Wine, Cars, Security and Peace. It is looking into the changes of notion of what is good life, and we are also interested in looking in which way personal dreams kind of change and get challenged in this moment, and kind of also segregated by geography, privilege, class, ethnicity. And this will be an exhibition which will be curated by us and will be opening in all the spaces of Kunsthalle. And kind of leading up to it, we are doing a series of events together with Burgtheater, also in collaboration with their project Europa Machine. I will not go into too many details, but I will just mention that we are really glad that we will be also hosting Milica Tomic with her performance. Also, we are collaborating with Oliver Frljic, who is also a director in residence here in Kasino, and who is involved in the whole Europa Machine project. He will be doing, I think, a very interesting project with youth. And then also, this is the save the date of St. Valentine's Day. We are also preparing a conference on the relationship between colonialism and fascism. So a bit of a heavy subject, but we are really glad to be doing this collaboration with the artist Kader Attia and theorist and critic Ana Pinto. So I will end here with the additional information, but I have to do a little bit of acknowledgements and thank yous. So first of all, of course, I want to thank Burgtheater for this great collaboration that we are doing. It was really great not only to be in inspiring dialogue and exchange with the team, but we are also super happy to be in this place, which also I think, as Tobias we can say, feels very enchanted to us, and it's great to work here. We are also very thankful to Kunsthalle Wien team, which has been working hard on making this happen and also bringing you here. And there is also a special person I want to thank, who is right now behind the stage, helping Sylvia prepare. This is Julie Martin, her long-term friend and producer. Julie is long-time director of an organization that is really famous, and I'm certain you know of, Experiment of Art and Technology, which was established in New York in the 60s. It was really wonderful how much Julie supported us in and really helping us in making this happen. We are also very thankful to Isabella for being here, and of course, most of all, to Sylvia Palacios Whitman, who accepted this invitation. And then last but not least, I'm very thankful to all of you for joining us on this Sunday, a bit coldish autumn evening, and I just want to stress that the bar will be working afterwards, so you're all also welcome to stay, and we hope we can kind of continue conversations and exchanges also informally. Thank you very much. Danke.
showing you tonight this new piece with some drawings that I have made at different times in my life about my childhood. Things that I remember that have touched me, that are funny, that includes several people in my family, my grandmother, my father, my mother, my brothers, and everything. And I have drawn some of these drawings like in 1960, in 1970s, few of them in the 80s, and even some of them not all that long ago. So, and I'm going to be showing them to you and telling you about it, okay? So, here we go with the first one. Let you look at it first. There you are. Now I will show you which one was me here. This one. So you can imagine already, okay? And this is probably some of the first performances that I did in the 40s. In the second floor of my house in the country, my parents lived, had a country house. Look, this is a picture of my father and my mother, my father's elephant on top of his piano, my mother always putting flowers on the table. But so that's what I remember, being a child. And in the second floor of the house in the country, I decided to make a theater. I hope nobody fell. And I think it was Tuesday nights, I did a piece, and my grand actress was my great-grandmother Rosa, this lady here. This girl here, her name is Kayla, and she was the daughter of Lucerina. Everybody's related to everybody. And Tinita, who cooked the best food in the world, the best Chilean food there was, is right here charging pennies to whoever in the family came in to look at the piece. And this is my dad, his name Gilberto, running up the stairs, always a little late because he was a doctor and he had to go see his sick children and sick people in his office. So that was, I would say, probably one of my first performances ever in 1940s, okay? All right. This is on weekends we used to go to my grandmother's and my uncle Cato, who is right here. I don't know if you can see him. You probably could see him a little bit. And he used to love to play polo. He had his friends and they played polo, and he had wonderful horses in the country. And they used to give my brother Carlos this one horse called Chanchito that hardly moved. Chanchito had to be moved. And my brother complained about that. My sister did not complain because she didn't like to be on horses, and she was in this one called Mancovero that didn't go anywhere, period. And they would put my sister half asleep over Mancovero, and she would go right over the other side. And had to pick her up again, and finally she continued her nap over it. That up there, I was lucky enough that my uncle believed that I was athletic and this and that, and so he lent me one of his polo horses to ride. And this happened just about every weekend. That's why it's something that I remember all the time. So, this one is when I was in the nuns' school. This one here, it's me, right here. And this is Madre Clara. And why she went around praying, Padre nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre. We were supposed to be in the gym class on Wednesdays, but we knew that she never made us do any exercise or anything like that. She would just, so we would put our boots on, we'd pick out our umbrellas, our coats, and we just hang around. The most that we did is lived here, do a little bit of that. And every Wednesday, this was our gym class. So that's how come I'm so athletic now, you know, I can do stuff. Yeah, that was something to, okay. A lot of earthquakes in the south of Chile. This is way south. You get to Santiago, you have to take a train or a plane, go all the way south to this little town called Osorno, where I was born. And here is my mother, my father, and me out the window, and our dog, and you can tell what's happening. Even the birds are falling from the trees. The dog is upside down. My mother is holding from the tree. My father is trying to hold down for his dear life. And my mother screams at him, Gilberto, where do you think is the epicenter? And my father answered, where the hell do you think it is? Oh, that's my dad during this one earthquake. But the next drawing is also of an earthquake in the south of Chile. Now, this is very dramatic. And I'm going to show you that. Look how well the scouts are doing down here, which is what I put. They're eating their grass. You can see they're nice and shiny, and they're having a wonderful time. In comes the tsunami and picks them all up, and they're all hanging up the trees. You can see that how the push things are hanging up the trees. And the worst part for me is that they were going moo, moo from hanging in the trees. And that stayed in my head forever. I can still practically hear them moo. See? So it happened other times too, but this one was the dramatic one. And you can see the difference between before and after was quite dramatic. I don't know who unhooked them from the trees, but that's it. Okay, okay. This one, the one going down the window, guess who it is? Me. Okay, on top of it is my friend Dora Elkers from the south of Chile. I was in school with her. I was in the German school at this point. And it was a Sunday like today here. And our parents decided to give us permission to go to matinee. And we went to the matinee and we saw an American movie, a war American movie. And you know how in the war American movies, everybody's jumping out of parachutes and planes and whatnot, and it was very strong American baloney and jumping up and down. And my friend says, oh my gosh, how can they do that? How can they just jump like that out of the plane? And something got my interest. And I said to her, I know. Do you have umbrellas in your house? And she says, why would you need an umbrella? And I said, I can do the same thing out of the windows of your house that these guys are doing jumping out of the planes with their parachutes. And she didn't quite believe me that it was possible, but as soon as we got to her house, we went to the third floor because it had to be a long fall. Yeah, and she had a black umbrella, and so we looked at each other, who's gonna go first? And she said, it was your idea. So I said, no problem, give me the umbrella. I stood in the border here that you can see out the window, and jumped. Well, didn't go well at all. Look what happened. Actually, apparently my life was saved by this line here holding clothes. They had washed clothes that afternoon, and this just bounced me off, as I remember. I was hurt quite a bit, but not as bad as I would have been. The only very sad thing was that there was a whole basket filled up with puppies. See? And I don't know what happened to them. I never saw them again. Yeah, that was not good. And then look here what's happened. Her father, Mr. Elkers, heard the commotion, my screams, and Dora screams on top, I told you. And he comes out with a stick. See that brown stick? And I said, this guy's going to beat me up. I'm beat up again, but he's going to really finish me off. Instead, what he did is he go up the stairs, and I hear dun, dun, dun. Instead of seeing if I was alive, boom, 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 up, 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 up. He gets up there, and I hear my friend Dora going, ah, ah, ah. He was beating her up so badly, and he was saying, it is your fault. This is your house, your stupidity for giving your friend the umbrella. So that was, I don't think they invited me much to their house after that. But, whoops. Oh, I think we need to go back a little bit more. Okay, so let's say we're done. Somebody sat on it, what up? Let me see, what's the next one? Okay, this is my mother, my father, us 3 children, my sister, my brother, and I, my parents' friends, my grandmother, and this is Chepa, this pig here. My mother always had pets or adopted things that were not pets, but she thought they loved her, and she loved them, and we always thought my mother loved them much more than us. That was for sure. And this little Chepa was this size, very tiny when she was born, and my mother fed her milk and this and that. It was a runt until Chepa started growing more and more and more. But by the time she grew, so did her love for my mother. So wherever my mother went, Chepa went. Absolutely. So when they had parties and they were dancing, my father would ask my mother to dance, and my mother would go tan, taran, tan, tan, and Chepa would go, oh, 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 oh. And my grandmother was furious. What an embarrassment. See, look at her face. Oh my goodness. And my mother would go, tan, taran, oh, 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 oh. It was finally, after many, many, many more months after this, my grandmother really did not go back to visit my mother until she had to get rid of Chepa. And also Chepa had gotten so big that she had to be pushed through the doors. You know, like that was Chepa going to the kitchen. She was going to it. So eventually they got rid of Chepa, and my grandmother came back to visit. Let's go on to the next one. See, I told you, she always had pets, my mother. This one is Polito, the meanest dog. Oh my God. She had Polito. Polito grew there. She adored Polito. And Polito was a mean little bastard who bit us. And we hated him. And this one time, my mother decided to tell us that she was going to go to Santiago by plane, and there she's holding her dog that she adored, and that we were going to have to take care of Polito while she was in Santiago, in the capital, for 1 week. What did that do to me? I was so happy to hear that I was going to be taking care of Polito. I said, this is my chance in life. So I went dancing up and down. I got my sister into dancing, my brother into dancing, and my mother into getting furious right there. She called us up, and she looked at me and she says, it is you who got your brothers and sister into being mean and nasty to Polito, so it is you who has to take care for the whole week of him. If anything at all happens to Polito, it will be your fault, and that would be the worst thing that can happen to you. So instead of having a wonderful time while my mother was gone, going to my friends, doing this, doing that, look what I had to do. Treat him like a king. Give him food, wash him, dry him with my towel, bake him to eat, so that when my mother came back, Pulito was alive. And not much happened to me, but I paid with my life practically because of that silly dog. Okay, let's see what's, all right, this one is a weird one. Funny for me like hell. This is me laughing there. Maybe I was a little bit older there, like 13 or 12. My sister was like 13 or 14. And I don't know why I had decided to play tricks on my poor sister, Gloria. And my tricks were not very nice. I would fill up a glass of water, and without her knowing, open a little bit the door in her room, and balance this glass of water over her door. So when my sister would open the door and walk in, boom, the water would go on her, and she got all wet, and she would always go back to my mother and tell on me. Only this one time, I was very tired of the punishment, of telling me that was not very nice. I kind of knew it was not very nice, they didn't have to tell me. But so, that why my mother was talking to her about what they were gonna do to me for what I had done, I already had filled up another glass of water and put it on her door, and I said, okay, pretending I was just gonna go, being funny. Then while I'm at my mother's room, I hear, she did it again. There, she's getting all wet again. And it just was funny for me. Only for me. I don't think it was funny for anybody else. Okay. This one is a good one. My sister Gloria must have been 14 or 15 over there. She had fallen madly in love with Osvaldo, right up there. She loved Osvaldo, she talked about Osvaldo, she dreamt about Osvaldo. One day she asked my father and mother, would it be okay for me if I invite Osvaldo for lunch to our house? They thought about it, and they said, well, we don't know. Well, next thing when she tells us is that Osvaldo was going to bring his father also for lunch. Here is his father, okay? And they sat him, so my parents said, well, look, if Osvaldo is bringing his father, that's good. That's very, nice to us, and I think that this would be the best. So they come and they sit him right next to my mother. That's already, all right. And there's Osvaldo and my grandmother and my father, myself and my brother, and my mother had cooked this incredible meal. She was well known for cooking unbelievable stuff. Empanadas, cakes, turkeys, glasses, it was unbelievable. And the father of Osvaldo got all into having all this delicious food. And he ate and ate and ate, and my mother kept saying, oh, isn't it wonderful that you like the food and whatnot. A few minutes after that, he gets up from the table. He walks to the back of his chair, like this, and he goes, like he's doing right there, see? Oh, sorry, okay. Pum, pum, pum. And we were all stunned. And what he was doing is trying to get rid of some of his food so he could eat more. And every few minutes, he would get up there, loosen his belt, and jump like that. And of course, they were never, look at the face of my father. Oh my God. We never saw poor Osvaldo again. My sister cried. The father was fucked, the whole thing, no more Osvaldo, no more nothing. And his father was the one who ruined the whole thing. Okay, let's see what else. This one is a weird drawing, right? But the reason it's done like this is because I feel like the devil made me do this, really. You know, that sometimes you know that something you can't do, but you do it, and the devil made you do it. This is the devil made me do it. So I was in the nun school by then, and there was this Madre Clara, that had always put this red stuff in her fingers because she obviously gets cuts and stuff that we could smell the smell of whatever she was putting in her fingers. So she would come close to me, and I could smell it, and I hated it. I wasn't prepared that one day when she comes to me and tells me something like that, I grab her fingers. And she said, "Let go of my fingers." And I said, "Absolutely not." And she said, "You have to let my fingers go." I said, "No, I don't have to." And then she would go this way and that way, nothing. When she realized there was nothing she could do, she decided to take me to the Mother Superior. So we went through the whole school, me hanging, people, when everybody coming out of the classes saying, "What is going on?" I'm hanging on from her finger. When we got to the Mother Superior, she was scary as all hell. She had mustaches and stuff. And she practically threatened with killing me if I didn't let go of her fingers. So slowly I did. And then truly, very, very real, she punished me not very nicely by putting me in the chapel of the school. And when I got there by myself and I heard that they were locking the door, I realized there was a box in the middle of the chapel, and I approached the box, and there was a dead nun in the box. Madre Irene had died. Nobody had told me. I looked and said, "This is Madre Irene, dead." And it was very scary, but little by little, it grew on me. I said, I have to do something. This is very boring. So I would go closer and closer. Nothing happened. I would get a little closer. Nothing happened. So I got very familiar with Madre Irene. And and they forgot to go and open up and let me go, but eventually they had to. And there was a big fight between my family and the nuns because my mother said, "That's not human what they done to her." I thought it was all right, not that bad. Okay. Oh my gosh, okay. I was in the German school, back to the German school when I was little. This is Fräulein Melita, back there, my teacher. And she called me in front of all the school children, and she says, "Give me your notebook where you write all what you have to do, what you're reading, what you're doing." And I told her that I had forgotten it. She grabbed my face like this, and she slapped me so hard that the fingers were all in my face, clearly. And I was so scared and so upset that I ran out of school, went a block and a half away where my parents lived, and by then I showed my mother my face. You can see it's all red there. My mother said, "Who did that? What happened?" I told her that it was Fräulein Melita. Well, she says, "Get out of this room and wait for me." I knew there was something very bad. Believe me, I knew there was something very strange. So I stood outside my mother's room when I saw my mother coming out of the room with her brown coat, and I saw horns on my mother. And she was coming on in her high heels, and once you saw her in that brown coat, you knew there was a problem. Even my father was very, very scared. And she grabbed me from the hand. She took me to school, and this is the director of school, and she demanded to see Fräulein Melita. And he said, but she's in class with the student. My mother says, I need to see Fräulein Melita right this very same second. They went out, they got Fräulein Melita. She walked into the room almost as if she didn't know what was going to happen. Well, there went my mother to her. And she says, are you Fräulein Melita? And she says, I am. And my mother went, wow. And then she, how did you like it, huh? She told her. She grabbed me, and we walked back home. That was very dramatic for a kid. But yeah, Fräulein Melita wasn't as ferocious as my mother, actually. You know, my mother was something else, I'm telling you. In fact, I'll show you. I have a way to show you. I do have things to show you how I look like my mother, for instance. Right here. Wait 1 minute, I'll show you. This makes me look just like my mother. Is it on? No. There? No. Yes. Okay, just 1 minute. That was my mother. She was ferocious, but she still smiled. She still got nerves. Okay, and in her mother, my grandmother was something else too, because my mother used to take, she married my father, and she had 3 kids, like 1, 2, 3 instantly. And very proud she was of herself. She used to take us to this park in the middle of town, which was about half a block this way, half a block that way. But very proud, and my grandmother would come along, and my mother was known for having been very beautiful and very white and very, very green eyes, big green eyes. And this lady, she had been, by the time she married my poor father, she had been the queen of the spring, the princess of Java, whatever. And the people in the street, because it's a small town, everybody talks, they would say, oh my gosh, poor Lala. Her name was Laura, but they called her Lala. What did she ever do in her life to have these 3 ugly kids? Okay, and my grandmother, that never passed out a question without being answered, could look to the side and said, I know what happened. She said, she married Gilberto. And as nice as he is ugly. So there we are, we were ugly. Ugly, ugly, I'm telling you. In fact, now I'll show you what my father, how I look very much like my father. Just 1 minute. Show you my mother now. I show you my father. All right, just 1 minute. Put this first. Then I'm going to put this. And we would all have a walk. We would all, it was a Groucho Marx look, you know? All their kids, we look a little bit like Groucho Marx. So the 3 of us, and we still do. I look at myself in the mirror many times and said, hi, Groucho. Okay. There. All right. So let's go. Oh, this is the last of the drawings, but it's the first one that I made. My father, myself, my sister, my brother. And my father, the doctor, he arrived, I think it was on a Friday afternoon. He knew we didn't have class on Sunday. So when my father walked in smiling, we knew something good was going to happen, something he was going to tell us great. So he walks in, and he says, I have a big surprise for you after lunch, where I'm going to take you. And we said, okay, what is it? And he says, this is a big, big surprise. It's something you never have done, you never have seen. You were going to be so surprised, and I'm going to be so happy to show you something. So we said, what is it? What is it, Dad? And he says, I am going to go and take the three of you to see Tunito. And we go, Tunito? What is Tunito? He says, a monkey. We jumped up with happiness because we have never seen a monkey called Tunito. And he says they have him in town in this quinta where they sold fruits and flowers and whatnot. And he says, you never have seen a monkey, so this is going to be my present for you guys. You're going to go see Tunito. Well, we sat in the car, my father looking at us through the mirror, smiling, fixing his mustache, very happy. We are excited as all hell. We never had seen a monkey. And actually, I had seen King Kong in the movies. And I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do when I see King Kong? I mean, I had no idea. My sister was even more out of it than I was. And so we arrived to the quinta, and they opened this gate, and my father says, look, before we go into the gate where Tunito is, I have to tell you that you guys have never seen a monkey, you don't know how to treat the monkeys, you don't know what to do with them, with the noises. You have to watch me, absolutely watch me. I have seen monkeys in the north of Chile. You haven't, so observe me. The first thing that happens is he goes in, we don't see Tunito. And we go, okay, where is the monkey? No monkey. My father says, you haven't looked, you're not careful, take a look. Tunito's right there. So all of a sudden, in the corner, we see this little tiny skinny thing with a chain up his neck, going like this. And we said, what? And my father says, that's Tunito. And we go, oh my gosh, I imagine, King Kong, or at least a monkey that jumped from one tree to the other. There was, he says, the three of you, right there in line, and don't talk, don't laugh, don't make a sound. I want you to just observe at a person that knows what to do with a monkey. So the three of us, there we're standing, and my father started going to Tunito. And his way was like, Tuno, Tunito, don't move. Tunito. And come on, Tunito. With this, Tunito had it with my father, jumps up, grabbed his fingers as hard as I grabbed the nun's finger, more with his teeth. And my father didn't know what to do in looking at us, and all of a sudden we see that he's going. And then it got worse. It was like this and like that, and we are like that. And my father turned to us and said, do something, idiots. What were we supposed to do? So eventually what we did is look around. We saw there was a house in the back, and we ran to the house, and we got the people, begged them to come and save my father that was still going around with Tunito. And the people start running towards my father, and when they got Tunito out of his fingers were hanging. It was just terrible. And he had to go immediately to emergency, which was bad enough. But he was going to end up in the same hospital where he was the director. He was the director of that hospital. So he goes like a saint, and in the car saying, not a word, not a word. And we're just quiet as we could. And he goes into surgery. They have to put some stitches and whatnot. He comes out. We are not looking at him because he was not happy with us. And so all the way going back home in the car, the same, he looks to the mirror, he says, don't want to hear a word from you. I don't want to hear anything about monkeys. And so we're just like stunned, quiet. We get to the house, we walked in. My mother doesn't even ask us how was our trip to the monkey. So we knew something had happened. My father probably called her and said, don't you ask about the monkey, which she didn't. And we never, for many, many years, allow ourselves to talk about the monkey. And I don't even think we ever did. It was that bad for my poor father. Yeah. So that's that, guys. That was the story about my father and the monkey. All right.
Thank you very much, dear Sylvia. I'm gonna give you a hug instead of elaborated thanks.
Thank you.
This was a real privilege. Thanks a lot. I will now invite Isabella Maidment to join us. Isabella is a curator who's joining us from London. She's a curator of contemporary art in Tate Britain. She's also an expert on Sylvia's work because last year she was working together with Catherine Wood on presenting Sylvia's work in Tate Modern in the Tanks. So we thought she would be a perfect conversation partner to talk to Sylvia and also give us a bit of background for the work. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabina, and thank you, Sylvia. I don't know quite how to follow that extraordinary performance. I will try. Yes, we first met back at Tate Modern, where we worked together on a rather extraordinary project, and we showed your work in the context of a group exhibition called 10 Days, 6 Nights, a live exhibition in the Tanks. And it was a wonderful experiment in thinking how to situate your wonderful historic works, many of which we've seen this evening, alongside an intergenerational mix. And we showed Sylvia's work across 2 evenings, once before a really extraordinary experimental live electronic music set. I'm remembering your dancing. And the following night before an exorcism by the British artist Mark Leckey. And I mentioned the context in which we showed your work by kind of way of introduction to our relationship, but also I think as a way of thinking about the way your work in a very meaningful way extends across time. And it's been wonderful this evening dedicated to your work, to see the work old and new. And I thought for those of us who are new to your practice, it would be wonderful to start at the beginning, or almost at the beginning, if you're okay with that. In New York, here is the most wonderful portrait of Sylvia, who clearly hasn't changed a bit.
Sitting Bull.
Could you tell us a little bit about your move from Santiago, where you were studying painting and sculpture, to New York?
Okay, if I can remember that long ago, oh my God. Okay, I moved.
Why did you move? Who did you move with?
With my first husband, yes. And that poor little son of a bitch. No, I'm joking. I mean, no, I left him, but not because of that. Okay.
Maybe the less said about that, the better. Very swiftly, you met somebody else. You met the artist Robert Whitman.
That was way after. Yeah, a few years. Well, could have been 5 minutes. No, it was about 4 years.
4 years. But that moment in New York was a very special moment, wasn't it?
New York, something happened. When I came from Chile to New York was like ready to embrace me. really embraced me. I didn't know any English, not that I know any now either. But at the time, it was really bad, not a word. I had studied German and French at school. My husband at the time spoke some English, but in general, I just loved New York, and New York just loved me, and it all started happening. You know, it was unbelievable. Yeah.
And it was then, or roundabouts, that you met Trisha Brown?
No.
No?
No.
Getting it all wrong. When did you meet Trisha?
In about 68, yes, which was a couple of years after. I was already, that's when I met actually Bob and Trisha, probably at the same time. And then I married Bob, and I became very good friends with Trish. And as good friends, we were doing stuff together, you know, and it's like, let's dance, let's do this dance. Why not? I mean, it was a very different kind of a situation, you know, very loose and wonderful. Yeah.
So it was really that heyday of the Judson School and that understanding of
I
movement.
had not much to do, and Trisha didn't have all that much to do about it either, you know. So you know who was into that, but well, the thing is, maybe we should tell, but it was. What's the question?
Well, I guess what I'm interested in really is the environment, the context in which you started to make your own work, and let's have a little look at it now. Some of these really beautiful early pieces that we can see here actually documented in Trisha Brown's studio. There's one in particular which I think would be brilliant to talk about. The human paper
You
call,
actually
of course.
saw a video of that done lately, but guess who's in there then? Me. Yeah.
Is
Here
this
I go.
piece? This is kind of, for me, a wonderful image of the point at which you took the leap quite literally
Right.
into making your own performance.
Exactly.
So having danced with Trisha Brown, having toured
Yes.
with Trisha Brown, you felt that impetus to make your own work for
Right.
the first time.
I didn't want to dance. I wanted to do physical things, performances, things that, you know, start and finish right away, not that went on and on and on. You know, so I did stuff like this. I jumped up a pyramid, and I think that there's another, see, there I go again. And what they did is they were putting these pieces of whatever, that was plastic under me, building this pyramid. And each time, the piece was smaller and smaller, and it got to be very dangerous a little bit. So nobody, look, I'm in the air. Don't think that I'm on top. See that the top, I'm falling into the top of it.
It looks incredibly precarious. And
Yes.
this was an early concert of performances that you put together.
Yeah, very early one, yes. Yeah.
What's
And-
interesting here is your approach to movement, because having that time spent as a dancer, you clearly didn't want to continue in that vein. Instead,
No.
you wanted to think about movement in kind of the service of the idea or the service of the image, and that's what we've seen this evening.
Exactly.
And I think am I correct in thinking that your first concert of performances was actually called Going, so
Right,
titled with a
right.
verb, which is interesting.
Going, yeah, exactly. Yes.
Here you are again. It really
There I
does
am
look quite
on top,
dangerous. I'm
right.
glad we didn't do that this evening.
And that piece we did at the Tate,
We
right?
did indeed,
Yes.
yeah.
And it's a beautiful piece. Maybe another time I'll do it for you here, but I need to bring all these people from all over the place, you know. But it is a beautiful piece. I know that you like that piece, right?
It's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's essentially the game of cat's cradle. I don't know if you have that here, but
Well, as a child, I play with cat's cradles, it's called, right? So you go like this, you go like that, and you go like this, and you build things with your hands. And my idea was, why don't I replace the fingers for people? And I replaced the fingers for people, and this is what happened. You know, they could create beautiful images and then put them in the floor. and start another one. Yeah.
There was a wonderful review that the New York Times published of one of these, your very earliest performance nights in 1974. And I'm going to read it here because I think it's still absolutely correct.
Okay.
She has her own brand of pungent humor, and the honesty of her subtitles and of the entire piece itself was most refreshing. When she calls a section jumping up a pyramid, she really jumps as platform after platform is piled under her feet. By the end, she has indeed jumped up a pyramid under construction. And there's that lovely quality of deadpan
Yes.
critique, which I
Yes.
think is also still really important to your work. Humor is so important.
Humor for me is I wake up in the morning and I go to sleep laughing. Yes. That this was the first elephant trunk that was shown as an elephant trunk, but then in the future, I've been using elephant trunk to stop pieces, or to stop a concert, like tonight. The way to stop what we're doing to show that an end is coming is to bring this piece that you're going to see very shortly.
It's a heads up. I can't imagine where.
That I forgot. Excusing myself. Okay. Now look what happened here. You know that I did this piece called Slingshot in a place called Idea Warehouse, I think. It could be one of those places where we worked in the 70s. And it was an actual slingshot. And the people, the kids, well, I was a kid myself at the time, there I am trying to pretend that I was going to jump. I threw them in, wonk, into a bed, into this, no, not the pillar, over there, the thing. And they will do it, which was amazing. And people took pictures while they were absolutely fearing what was going to happen to them. Yeah.
This is an extraordinary work as well.
Yeah, these are many people, as you can see. I'm among the hanging meat people there. At the time, somebody called Bernie Kirschenbaum helped me build up all this stuff. It's very complicated. Now even Anna the other day was asking me, what about those pieces? And I said, it would take so much time and a lot of money, and at the time to do them, you could. Now, what space can you use like this space? They didn't care what we put on the wall or anything like that. And so we lifting people, they moved, they go into the bag, they close the bag, up we all go in the bag, and we move somewhere else.
It's just extraordinary. I think perhaps our health and safety regulations might put an end to that reprisal, but it would be interesting to see. This is another beautiful work, thinking about your relationship between sculptural objects or props and the image.
Right. This is a piece where I really wanted to show people that I'm flying in the air, that I'm levitating. So I have the plastic stairs covered with paper stairs. I climb the paper stairs, lift them after I'm up there, and I fool some people some of the time. Not too many people most of the time. But and then, okay. Well, there's one stairs there that, can we go back a little bit? Yeah, look at this stairs that I've been shown at the museum in New York. It's like very thin wire, and it's also another stairs right next to the plastic stairs and to the paper stairs, which I think I will redo all this for the January show in New York. Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is a few works that you made for an exhibition, a performance evening rather.
Well, they show them at the museums, but I have not done it as a performance.
And here we are, the original cup and tail that we open with this evening.
Look, if you really look, I had eaten a couple of sandwiches there, right? Okay, this is mummies that I also did in the 70s, and I also did at the Tate. and it's a long piece with paper mummies that I built. I built paper mummies, but to show them in different places is hard because you have to say boxes and boxes of paper mummies, and it's kind of embarrassing to tell the people, what do you have in there? Well, paper mummies. That was, so, yeah.
What's wonderful about seeing these images, though, and seeing some of these images that are so iconic, I think, images with which we know your work before we've ever seen it. I felt like I knew your work from the 70s, having never lived through it, but it was with this series of works, and this is, I think, in the Whitney, is that right? That your work had a bit of a reprisal. So you were very active through the 70s and into the 80s.
70s, yes.
And then you took a pause for personal reasons.
Yes.
And then a really wonderful thing happened, and I think it's a really quite inspiring career trajectory, actually, that your work was included in a very brilliant exhibition at the Whitney Museum in New York, Rituals of Rented Island, curated by Jay Sanders.
Oh, yeah, he's wonderful.
Somebody who really
he really
took your
dug my work
to heart and gave it the critical reprisal it deserved. And I think that that's really given you a wonderful platform going forward.
I was very, I had completely left the art world in a way, not completely because I kept doing my stuff and all my friends are artists and whatnot, but I was not doing all this work. And when he called, he said, you either do it with me or I'll do it without you. So I had to do it, yeah.
And so works like this, which of course 70s suddenly take on a new contemporary significance, and actually it was amazing that this very image was used as the signature marketing images for Radical Women Latin American Art 1960 to 1985 by the Hammer Museum, and that subsequently toured. So I remember you sending me a beautiful picture of it on a banner in Hollywood, and thinking what it means for this work to travel over time, the meaning that it has. I do think there is, at the heart of your very simple, very poetic, very deeply humorous work, a great power that means this still resonates now. And I think it's fantastic in the context of this forum to be thinking what it means to be working as a woman in this way, and to be working as a woman who's able to take that time away from the art world, which can be brutal and unforgiving, and to step back in with such courage, I think is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
And these are some more of those earlier works.
This one, guys, I think I told you about this one, right?
Tell us all.
It was called the Andrade family. In the Andrade, you can tell that it is only one family. And this was done at the kitchen, another kitchen, not the same kitchen they have now. But the thing is, they all said, how are we going to perform? What are we going to do? I said, all you have to do is sit in front of people, like as if they were sitting here in front of you, and just be themselves. The children, the grandmother, the aunt, the father, the new girlfriend, the whole thing was right there, and all they did was look at the audience, and the audience looked at them. Yeah.
Beautifully straightforward.
And and then somebody took pictures, Polaroids, and put them on the floor. And when people, before they left the kitchen after the performance, each person that went took a picture of somebody, and they could,
That's lovely.
Yeah.
In your recent works that you've revisited, you've worked often collaboratively, so with young performers.
Yes.
What's it been like to sort of pass the baton over to work with younger performers? And often they're not trained dancers, are they? Sometimes they are, but very often they're just...
Very often not. They both like to be in it, and they enjoy, doing. Very lovely, and it's amazing to work with all these young people in New York, and they all want to go somewhere. Oh, where are you going? Can I come? Take me, and very wonderful. I mean, it's just great, and they the response to the work is just so tremendous. It's unbelievable.
It was really wonderful in London to see young dancers like Pepe Ubera performing your work. I think it almost starts to function like a kind of living archive. I think it's a beautiful way of keeping the history alive.
Yeah. That woman is called Lee Towie. Lee Towie was somebody that I met, I think, I don't know where, but I think in a church or something like that. She was sitting there, and I started talking to her. She asked me what I did, and she told me part of her life, and I said, this lady is really interesting. And I put her in front of the audience, and she told her life story. And that was that. I said, just get yourself a hat. And that was that. And she had some life, I tell you.
Extraordinary. What a face.
Yeah. This was, I also draw, and I love drawings. I make a tremendous amount of huge drawings, medium drawings, tiny drawings, the drawings that you saw. And this is a whale that I drew to when I was having a show in the 70s at the Guggenheim Museum in New York. And it was almost like it had a stick in the back. And so I walked around, and somebody walked right next to me with the whale, following me around. Yeah, So that was, and it was called South, this one piece. And I recently talked to, they're so interested again, and they came and talked to me about it. So every bit of what happened there, they want to know, and we'll see what happens.
Fantastic.
See, this is also part of South.
And this is at the Guggenheim in
At
New
the
York.
Guggenheim,
Yeah.
right.
At the bottom of that rotunda.
Yeah. And they told me, my gosh, they let you use the whole thing? And I said, yeah. They said, well, they ain't going to let you do that now. I said, it's okay. Yeah. And that was the horse of a different,
So many wonderful images here. We might just whip through a few, just to give you a sense of this extraordinary rich history of yours. This is a beautiful piece
This one I
as
did
well.
also at the Tate,
You did
right?
indeed, yeah.
And you can, if you can go back a little
Sure,
bit, you'll see that that's my father, the figure of my father that I drew 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and I put people behind it, and with the wind, it moves the figures, and it goes forward and backwards, and they do different shapes, and it's almost like a curtain in a windy day in an open window. Then it's beautiful. Yeah. This, I don't know who did it. I guess I did. You know when sometimes you say, whoa.
We can skip over this.
No, I did this for Poland when they were going to move the MoMA museum from a place that they had it to another place that they didn't have it. It was one of those things.
So many works. We're running out of time, so this is your beautiful performance in the tanks at Tate Modern. Very happy memories.
Yeah. Oh, there I go again.
And that's Cat's Cradle revisited for 2018. And this was a lovely collaboration with Christopher Rauschenberg.
With Christopher Rauschenberg, right.
And I think that's also something that's important to say about your practice, the generosity with which you have to let others in as well. I think that's
I do. I don't see why I should be the one. If people bring stuff to me, absolutely, I'm all with it, and I'll help them, and I'll work with them.
There's a wonderful open spirit, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the same.
That was
Please
filming.
continue. A very comical moment.
Yeah.
And then this is a very recent piece also, a bit of a low-res photo, but your work in Warsaw, projected outside, which is rather extraordinary to see.
They had like a cube, and they projected around the cube. Yeah.
And this is an image from Origami Tango, which was great to see the video of earlier today, and it was very noticeable for me. It's the first time I've seen your work with sound.
Yes.
And the sound was actually really quite progressive.
I'm as shocked as you are. You sometimes you do things. I got it in my head. I made my origami. I love to make origami stuff, but I don't do them too well. But this one I painted pink and red and white. And I got it in my head that those people they have to move and dance tango and whatnot. And I went and got this guy called Talo Kawasaki, and I challenged him. I said, I need, and he says, how can I possibly do that? They're too big, it can't be done, they'll weigh tons, who's gonna do it? I said, you are gonna do it. And he eventually, after many tries and in different times that went and over and over and over, it worked. I mean, he had it done. And then a young Chilean musician, I wanted to make the music, and he did do it. And then we did it at the park, and the people just go to the park looking at this wacko stuff.
It's a beautiful work, I think, that fuses so many important elements of your work. The simplicity of the objects, that attention to the physical prop, the embodied image, but also the very sort of simple poetry. I wanted to end with some words from the wonderful Julie Martin, who's been so important in this evening and in your practice of late. She has said of your work that your images transcend boundaries. They are universal and mysterious, haunting and magical. The personal becomes universal, and a world of imagination and possibilities is presented to the viewer. The poetic works of Palacios Whitman belong to the world. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for sharing this with us this evening.
Been a wonderful audience, and with a tremendous patience listening to, I don't even know if you understand what I'm saying most of the time. Yeah, I don't even understand it myself, but I'm delighted that you're here. Let me look at your faces. Oh, beautiful. Very nice. Thank you. People are the ones that made this possible, as you know very well. Julie, come on, Julie. Yeah. Look at the, how many are we? 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 4. Look at the 4. Look at the 4 of us. Come on. And here we all are, and I promise that I will go to your performance. Whenever you have one, let me know.